Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this June 28th meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order with the second reading.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One of you gentlemen want to say something about the moment of time, or you just want to?
There's a new item on the agenda, this meeting. Kind of sure Jim on this. It was close to first.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I
That's all right.
read over it.
We've added a moment of silence on there. Some people like a prayer for a public meeting, and others don't. We'll have it as a moment of silence, and you can observe it the way you wish. We'll do it for a moment and then go on with the meeting.
Thank you. Okay, is there any citizen participation at this time? Hearing none, moving on to approval of the minutes of the May 24th supervisor meeting. I didn't see any items needing changed or updated, revised. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Do we have a second? Yeah.
No, he asked if
Oh, that-
he wasn't a supervisor.
Sorry, that's okay, I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, David. Okay. Hey, Ken. Okay, Ken, did you have any citizen participation?
Back there, you can just say things out of it. I'll have to put it back up here. I just thought, well, leave it there because that's the parent.
Okay, last supervisor meeting, we had a supervisor resign, John Schulze, and there were some things that John said in a letter that he read, as he was leaving. Unfortunately, those things were said while John was still supervisor. So, speaking with our solicitor, the board needs to provide, do we call it letter of censure or censure? But in any event, there were things that were said that, are not good for the township, so therefore we've got a statement, to clarify. So on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, I apologize for the derogatory comments that were made about township employees, which were made by Mr. Schulze at the May 24th public meeting, just before he announced his immediate resignation. The views and opinions expressed by Mr. Schulze were those of Mr. Schulze alone, and do not reflect the official policy or the position of the Board of Supervisors of Rye Township. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Persons to be heard. First is John Schulze joining the ladies.
So, as I know Jim and the solicitor and Daisy know, I submitted a BIU building permit back in February to replace my the patio that's elevated about 6 inches off the ground, and it's attached to the back of my building. So, with that, knowing it's attached and, you know, future ideas and everything like that, I went and got a BIU permit to make sure I could, you know, have the foundation there, and that way then it was documented what the foundation was, and it was inspected to current code. So, did that. BIU, I guess, forwarded it on to the township, and then the township, I got an email saying, hey, I need to get a certificate of use. during that exchange, I asked, where is that in the zoning ordinance that states that kind of documentation? And all I got was, pretty much that it's not in there, it's just that you're significantly changing a structure or building, was the part that it came from. I didn't agree with it, but my building permit was being held up. I was not able to get my building permit from BIU, so it came down to either paying $75 to have the zoning officer come out and look that I had a foundation under my existing patio, or I have to pay $112 for a certificate of use only. No zoning permit, just a certificate of use. So knowing I needed my BIU permit, because my contractor wanted to come out soon, which ended up not happening, but right now he hasn't come out yet. But still the issue is hey, I needed my building permit at that time, so I paid the $112, even though I still did not agree with it being a certificate of use needed, because I couldn't find anywhere in the zoning ordinance that says. So after that, brought it up between us supervisors, hey, where is this from, and the only response I could see was, it's what we've always done. That if you needed a BIU permit, you needed to get a COU. So it was asked to the solicitor, it was asked to the planning commission. They also, it seemed like, didn't think that we needed it, at least at that time, that we needed one. So, I did a little digging and tried to figure it out too. And I looked up, I have the definitions of, and looked up the certificate of use section. And it has about, a certificate of use shall be a statement issued by the zoning officer setting forth that a building, structure, parcel, or use of land complies with the provisions of this chapter, and that no vacant land shall be occupied or used, and no structure or part of a structure hereafter erected or substantially altered or changed in use. So that part pretty much always specified building, structure, or use of land. So, continuing on.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
the zoning officer already made a,
Oh, yeah, yeah, let John finish, please, Bob, and then we'll get.
well,
Thank you.
I think it's costing us money and nobody wants to hear his mouth anyhow.
Let's hear John till the end.
So I went on, thank you. So I went on to the certificate of use definition, and it has about, once again, construction of a new building, conversion of a structure, or use of a building. So structure and building, once again, and change of use. So I go on to the building definition, and that has any structure having a roof supported by columns or walls and intended for the shelter, housing, or enclosure of persons, and pretty much goes on. Once again, walls, columns, roof. And then I go on to structure, and that has a lot of definitions, but at the end, it says, but accepting patios, driveways, walks, and parking areas at yard grade. So once again, that's accepting patios. So that's where I'm at is, I can't figure out why replacing an existing failing patio with the exact same thing, and I only needed a BIU permit because of future. If I wouldn't have wanted the BIU permit, I wouldn't even need a certificate of use. So that's why I'm trying to figure out why this is. And I know I wrote a letter about end of April requesting the refund because I have not seen why I needed the certificate of use. So, and if you want a copy of those letters and the receipt that I got, I can give that to each one of the board members, see it, but.
We can get a copy of Daisy.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I just had the initial, but I have one.
Okay.
So,
What is it, the packet?
it's just the letter and then
Okay,
the
so one
receipt,
letter.
so,
And I have it.
showing that I had it.
So,
But, yeah, I couldn't figure out why I need a certificate of use, and it seems like that was the same thing with the solar panel folks. I saw a couple of those letters, the solar panels, but at least they need to make sure their structure's right, but it seemed like the planning commission wasn't even sure about that because of, they now added it into their zoning and Saldo updates to say, oh, you need a permit for those,
Okay.
so.
And I did mention to Brian that this was gonna be coming,
Mhm.
so Brian, you indicated you had some.
Yeah, I can go over, at least on my end of it. As the zoning officer, we reviewed the site and their submission, let me see here, included a statement which I think you have, that indicated the intention to replace an existing elevated concrete pad with a new elevated concrete pad. This elevated concrete pad is to include a foundation and a construction, or and be constructed to accommodate a future single-story enclosed building addition. So, in our conversations, I made it clear that there were two options. One, they could just go through the building process as if it was building a structure, which is what we had. Or, if the foundation was existing, and the township doesn't have any record of that, and there was some back and forth on township records of that, if I went out and took a look at the site and saw an existing foundation, then it would be considered just a patio and exempt then from any requirements for a certificate of use. So that option was given to them, and they chose the option of going with the building.
And,
So,
yeah.
I understand that, you know, you may have some confusion on that, or you want to discuss that, but at least on my end, the reason for the need for the certificate of use was that the foundation makes it a structure. Whereas if it's just a patio, it doesn't need the certificate of use and therefore wouldn't count as a structure, or reverse that.
Dan, as solicitor, do you have anything to add?
I already gave my legal opinion and recommendations based upon the way the ordinance is written, and I think you recall what it was. I'm not gonna get into the debate about it.
Okay. So, we still take it under advisement, or would you consider it a closed matter?
It's closed. You can take action on it, or whatever you would.
I think we'll just take it under advisement for now. We don't have a termination to make for behind. Okay. Thank you, John. For Mantex, the approval of the subdivision plan for the lands of Zena Speck.
Yeah, you know how that is. I see your wife followed you here.
Sorry.
I'll take it back. Here said he wants to use it on the way out.
No, I don't know. Please sit down. Okay. We're, taking on the 2-acre lot off the Speck farm. The total acreage is 106. And we're just taking one 2-acre lot off. We addressed all the comments from the planning commission, their concerns, and we are just submitted for the final E&S control. There's only half an acre of disturbance on this, and the stormwater on it is only a half acre, even from counting off-site onto the property. And what we're doing is just using a detention pond on the property. And that has to go to your engineer, and that can determine if everything looks correct to him. Other than that, here's a typical what our detention burn's going to look like, and that's going to run all along where the new driveway's going and along the front of the house. And it will actually have plenty of infiltration. We'll have more than triple what we need for infiltration on this.
Yeah.
No, I was just answering any questions you may have.
Dan, you had expressed some concern about steep slopes.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there were any issues with slopes. I noticed there weren't any driveway profiles submitted, and I think that's part of the ENS and stormwater management plan, is that right?
Yeah, the driveway does exceed for about 80 feet, but this is an existing driveway. It goes to 17.5%. Most of the driveway, 2/3 of it is at 13.5%. And then once the new driveway leaves that existing driveway, the highest percentage is 9.5%.
When you say the existing driveway, is that the part that goes over, from Margaret, I can't remember the name, it's Margaret Lane?
Yes, yeah. Well, that would be the private drive that goes up to the house that's on 104 acres, the residual tract.
And you say the slope in excess of, like, 14% is on that portion?
Yes, yeah, it's an existing. It's about 80 feet in length that it exceeds, it extends to that 17.5.
And then the ENS plan and the stormwater, that has not been approved yet, correct? It's
Right.
been submitted.
Right.
And there are going to be some stormwater control facilities, right, the berm?
All along the new improvements to hold, we're going to have all infiltration.
And there was, one of the conditions was, from my review of easement and maintenance agreement, which I got a draft of, but of course it didn't have anything to do with the stormwater management because we didn't have any plans yet. So is there any reason why this needs to be acted on tonight before we get all the documentation done?
I'd like to get conditional approval for getting that ENS approval and engineers okay with the stormwater. Because there won't be any reason to be audited for this. This, unless he feels that there's an easement he needs carved out. Because it's just going to be a 1 foot high berm, and it's only going to be 1 foot behind it. And then it's, like I said, it's ample room for infiltration.
All right, well, I'll tell you that the agreement I have is not approvable in the form that it's in, even if it were just a driveway. So it needs a lot of work, and it needs to incorporate whatever stormwater controls there are shown on these plans.
Okay.
And it seems to me like we're going to have an approval subject to a whole bunch of conditions that are open-ended. And I don't know if all of these things are going to be resolved in a month. That's why I asked the question.
Well, with your opinion on the maintenance agreement, I think a lot of that's going to be more specific and refined when the two parties get together and talk to their attorneys on how they want to handle. I just put together pretty much one that we use generically for all townships.
Sounds like you're putting the cart before the horse. We're not going to record the plan, or allow it to be recorded until we have an approved maintenance agreement.
Correct.
The lot has not yet been sold, right?
No, it can't be sold until
Right.
the plans are recorded.
Right. So why can't you just do a declaration now between residual lot 1 and proposed lot 2, whoever the owners of those properties may be, and then you have it all addressed?
Mm-hmm. We can do that.
And then we don't have to wait.
Excuse me, Roger, can I speak for you?
Yeah, Tom?
Go ahead, Tom.
I take care of all those properties. That's my wasteland and I I've been taking care of that property for 36 years, so. And this parcel here is just a short road. It's gonna come off of Margie's Lane, not Margaret Lane, but the house going upstairs. And that should be that long, and we've already agreed that I'll take care of it. I've got the equipment. So, if that's any,
Yeah, we're
what
just
you're looking for.
looking for all that in writing, you know, how you want to handle it, what the percentage
Okay, all right.
are they gonna be responsible for. I think it's something that you guys can clear up in a day.
I can clear it up right now, I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
She's my stepdaughter, so I'm
Right.
responsible.
Right. And what I gave you, again, it's just, you know, you saw it's kind of generic.
Okay.
So we just have that, stormwater, I know we can't do anything more on that. And ENS control will be definitely approved, and Neil tells me it'll be about 2 weeks to be finished.
I think we get the ones that haven't been resolved yet, right?
Do you have all of them? We have
You might
them.
want to check.
Because of the stormwater management plan, ENS control, we talked about that. The maintenance agreement, we talked about that. You already added a note to the plan about the maintenance agreement, I think, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, the last note on the plan says that. Look, we put it-
And you have a notice of
I do have,
intent to serve from Suez.
she
Yeah.
gave that to me today, yeah.
Mhm.
You've already, briefed.
And number 5, trim the front setback line to the top of the slip area. I'm not sure what that means.
I believe it, I struggled with that one for a while, so I don't know what that means either. But we're, you know, where we're building.
At 850?
Plenty far away from any of the steep slopes.
Maybe Sean knows.
Sean,
Is that to increase the setback from 20 feet to an additional 9 feet?
I didn't see anywhere in the regulations.
Well, generally speaking, if there's any steep slopes and there's a setback line close to it, we'd like to have the setback line meet the steep slope line, because you can't do anything in a steep slope anyhow, and that keeps people in the future from even thinking that they can do anything there. That's the reason.
Yeah, and the reason I brought up the steep slopes too, and it sort of ties into that, I guess, is, in the plan I had, what I could see, it looked like where the proposed driveway is, there's a portion of it that is within the 15 to 25% slope area.
Yeah, this, almost, 3/4 of an acre of this property is in the 15 to 20%.
Yeah, but there was a, let's see now, it was the dotted area of the
Yeah.
steep slopes, 15 to 25, and maybe it was just that it carried over too far, but it looked like there were some dots within where the new driveway was going to be installed for a portion. Is that?
Yeah, there is,
correct?
right here in the right of way. It's in this section. It cannot be, there really is no way to avoid it to get into this property.
And does that address those then in the driveway profiles?
Yeah.
And is that where the berm will be in that area as well?
Well, the berm is down underneath that, the infiltration berm is underneath that.
Okay.
But, and that's where it ties into the existing, is where that occurs. It's, you know, that's where we're coming up with that 17.5%, and we're breaking off for the new driveway.
Then is the house location within the steep slope area?
Now, it's right at it, it's right at the edge of it.
Part of it looked like it was also in the dotted area. Or is that the old plan?
Yeah, because I'm looking at, you know, slopes
Where'd you
at
have the
15%.
new plan then?
Oh, is that, okay.
underneath there, if the solicitor wants to look at a bigger company that you can see.
Everyone test my video.
Yeah.
See, this is the area I was concerned about, because this, that's steep slope area there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And over half the house is in the steep slope area.
yeah, it's right at 15%. I mean, I don't, we could shift this back a little bit more, you know, but I grew up in Perry County, 15% is flat land to me.
And the ordinance calls for a 20-foot setback, correct?
Yeah, yeah, and then see the,
And you have more than 20 feet.
yeah, yeah. And see, up here, it is flatter. We could shift the house up a little bit, but what we were trying to avoid was impeding, you know, her view out to the valley. We were trying to keep it down. So, I'm gonna learn something today, but they're not allowed to build on the 15% slope, but yet DEP says I can put a septic
No,
on
that's just-
15%.
I wasn't saying you can't, I was just asking the question about.
Okay.
Because you said the house was not in the steep slope area, but I recalled seeing that at least half of it was,
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to see.
Yeah, I thought before taking a part of 15%, because really, that's a wide range between 15 and 25. Once we start going over 25, then I'd say it's in jeopardy.
Has the planning commission seen the revised plan with the location of the house and the steep slopes?
No.
To know if that satisfies their concern about
It just came
trimming the
today.
front setback lines to the top of the steep slope area? And that's what, I didn't know what that meant, and I don't know if this addresses it.
I know. It just came today, I didn't get anything.
I don't know what it means, because if you look at the dotted line, the
Oh, yeah.
setbacks would move, the whole way would disappear. There would be no, if they were trimmed at the, you see what I mean, because they go the whole way across vertically.
What it looks like, is this the top of the slope?
That's where it goes from like 7.5%, 8% grade to a 15% grade. Right at the, I think it's a 520 contour. Like I said, the only reason we were down this far was to keep us away.
I'm not familiar enough with the construction piece. Are there restrictions on building within the steep slopes?
There's Brian.
I think there is something in the zoning ordinance about that. I don't have it off the top of my head, though. I haven't seen this plan yet.
Does it have to do with driveways?
There's a number of things in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, I just am not sure.
Well, that's part of the reason why, the stormwater hasn't gone to the engineer yet.
Right.
So they haven't seen anything.
Right. Okay.
We're looking for needing an extension.
I think that's what the,
But you could do the conditional,
Which ones do we need, conditional for?
1, 2, 5,
And do we have that?
8.
we have the waivers, yes. And the 8,
I think 9.
yep. And 10 and 11.
With 8 signatures.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the two easy things.
Right.
Does the plan need to go back to plan, is the thing? For another look?
But think they should get a look at it, whether you wait for another complete meeting is up to you, but, I think it should go back then, and if you have the conditional approval, and they're okay with the plan as it's shown, then it's a done deal. So you don't have to revisit the issue.
Okay, so we just need to read off the ones that he's going to, okay.
Yeah, the ones that are, the conditions that are not yet.
Does Roger have a copy?
Yes, I had sent
Okay,
them over
okay,
to
yeah.
them, I sent them
Okay.
a couple weeks
So
ago.
we're going to provide stormwater management plan and ENS control plan require the county conservation district approval and the township engineer review and comments. Number 2 is provide the proposed maintenance agreement and acquire legal review and approval from the township solicitor. 5 is trim the setback lines to the top of the steep slope area on the plan. How do we go about finding out? It sounds like there's ambiguity on what that.
That goes back to the planning commission.
Okay, planning.
And if they look at some revised plan and they're satisfied with it, then that's.
Okay, but I thought there was confusion what was meant by.
Where the house is prepared.
Should I say on there also when I list the condition that, because everyone else says who's approval, the solicitor, the
30 feet,
township,
and then
should I
around
say,
100%.
with planning commission approval
It's just a corner.
for review, or should I change that condition?
Well, planning commission doesn't approve, planning commission
Recommend.
recommends, which is why we're sort of in
Right.
a limbo here. Take condition upon their recommendation for approval.
Okay,
And then if they don't give the recommendation for approval, then the board will have to do it.
Okay.
Well, is that steep slope concern in a zoning issue that we could have the zoning officer, comment on? Because we don't know, we don't know if we have to change the location of that house or not.
Well, I think that,
when you get to the planning permit stage, is that what you're talking
No,
about?
yeah, the zoning officer should recommend about the house being in that.
Right.
If it violates the steep slope
Well,
zone,
I think it's
zoning
going to the
overlay, I
engineer
guess.
anyway for review of the
Stormwater review.
stormwater and ENS, so
Mhm.
I think we could, maybe just add that.
It's convenient that the engineer and the zoning
Yeah.
officer
Yeah.
are the same
Yeah.
firm,
Yeah.
person and firm.
Oh, okay.
Slightly-
They
slightly
own
two
the
different
same
things.
then.
The firm is hired for the engineer, the person is hired as the zoning officer.
Okay.
Okay, so that was 5. 8 is provide a driveway profile and typical cross-section for the existing private drive and the private driveway access to the new lot number 2 on the plan.
Well, now that's the one that's already done.
Now, that's been approved.
Yeah,
Driveway profile?
Wouldn't have touched it.
yeah, it's a driveway profile.
Okay.
I'm
'Cause
sorry,
we
But it
don't
needs to
have-
be approved.
Right, again, that's the engineer.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so it's been provided, it just hasn't been approved.
Right.
Nine is, provide an approval letter from Pennsylvania DEP for the city's planning exemption. And then,
I don't have the official letter. I have the
Okay.
waiver exemption certificate and an email saying it looks good, but I don't have the actual approval.
Okay, yeah,
Because
that's,
I think
that's,
the response was that they didn't have the documentation to review. And then once they had, they didn't anticipate any issues. Is
Yeah,
that
right,
Something
they didn't
like that.
anticipate anything.
yeah, they had it.
But they're not the quickest to respond, so.
They had
Just
that
be
on
in
June
process.
2nd, yeah.
But I don't have it. I'm looking for the letterhead and the
Yeah.
blue and green, and just the one-page letter, and I don't
Right,
have it.
that the SEO can proceed, issue them.
Right.
Yeah.
okay, and 10 is certify the accuracy of the survey by signature on the plan prior to approval, and 11 is certify the title of the property by signature on the plan prior to approval. So, those are the only cover, so we need a motion. How's this go back, Dan? We're just,
Conditional approval,
Yeah,
subject to site.
yeah, can I just ask that, I mean, I don't know if we really need to go to planning commission if we address the engineer's comments, then everything should be cleared up.
Well, that was a comment from planning commission that hasn't been addressed. But I think it does lead to the fact for them to see what is meant and make sure that their
Well, they-
concerns were satisfied by the revised plan.
Yeah, but they don't know what's going on either, they have to rely on the engineer, that's what I'm saying. If the engineer's okay, we're going back for them to look at something they've already looked at.
They haven't looked at
They
any of the
haven't-
engineer's computations or anything, and believe me, they would like to see that.
So that's
It
fine.
wouldn't be an official submission, just, they would just be bringing the revised plan. Okay,
With,
just a
with
follow.
the engineer comments and
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we should get those. But I don't know if we can get them by the 13th of July.
I think we can.
Yeah, okay.
As long as we get a set of plans and reports and everything I need.
They were all emailed out.
You email them to Wilson Consulting?
Yeah, yeah. Wilson?
Who did you email those to?
Teresa emailed them out,
Okay,
so,
I haven't seen them yet.
okay, it was about 4 o'clock when she sent them.
Okay,
It came from T. Reed,
all right. I haven't seen them yet,
okay.
so I'll check around my office to see who actually got that.
Okay, because they told me they sent stuff on Friday, and Teresa was off, and she's very good at, when she says she's gonna send, she does. But Teresa being off Friday, and she said, you didn't get them, I said, I absolutely did not get them Friday afternoon, and they said they were gonna send them. But I got the maintenance agreement and sent that over to Dan, but I never got the revised plan. Well, then she sent it, and then she brought it. She sent the the electronic, and then she brought these around lunchtime today. So,
I'll give you my card in case
Okay.
there's a
that's
mix-up.
a good idea.
That's who you send it to.
Already.
Thanks, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
We're making a motion for conditional approval of the plan subject to items 1, 2, 5, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Do they wanna make this motion before they deal with the waivers, or doesn't it matter?
I guess you should do the waivers first, I forgot about those.
These are just the three,
The three,
yeah, south of section 320-21 preliminary plan. We asked that we asked that the requirements for the preliminary plan be waived because we're only proposing to remove 2 acres from 106.68 acres of the Speck property. And the second one is property outline scale, the property outline on a scale of 1 to 150 for better clarity. Therefore, we ask that the requirement for the plan be shown at a scale of 1 inch to 400 feet be waived. And the third is, overall master plan. We ask for this to be waived because the overall acreage is 106 acres. There is no advantage to speculate on what the future land development could be. Long-term planning is the lot to remain as farmland and woodland, and not to subdivide any lots from the 106 acre tract. So, subject to those items and the 3 waivers, we approve the 3
We
waivers.
first have to approve the waivers.
Yeah, I'll make a
and
motion
do
to
it second.
approve the 3 waivers. Do we have a second? Second, all in favor? Roger.
Okay.
Okay, so the waivers are good. And then, conditional upon items 1, 2, 5, 8, 9, and 10, and 11. Do we need to put something in further about your review of the maintenance agreement?
No, because it's already done.
Okay.
is there any time limit to meeting the conditions?
It's not gonna be recorded until they're met,
Okay,
Okay.
or something.
okay,
So that kind of takes care of itself.
okay.
So I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
Motion's
Approve subject to those conditions.
Conditional approval. Subject to fulfilling those.
You
Okay,
second
Brad,
that?
second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, is that it for this?
good, all right. Hey, thank you.
Okay, so should I get with Teresa and see if she can get me copies of the revised plan for the meeting of the 13th?
Yeah, as soon as I hear back from the engineer.
Okay.
Let me see if there's
Or
any.
you don't want them to have this one, okay.
Yeah, and just in case the
There's something
engineer
else,
has
okay.
more
Okay.
comments.
Well, maybe I'll touch base with her just to follow up to make sure, or with Ryan, and make sure that this is getting through. Because we're going into a holiday weekend too, so I wanna make sure the engineer gets this, because our meeting is the 15th. And that's gonna move along rather fast.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, did you say?
okay.
Just July 13th, they did reschedule because of the holiday, or we would make it.
Yeah, I will be the 8th.
6:30.
Okay, well, thank you.
Good, hey, thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
All right.
Wednesday night?
See ya.
You know that.
Yeah. He doesn't like anyone to leave. You know that, John. Doesn't matter, you don't like to leave.
Okay, moving on to zoning code enforcement report, Brian, if you.
Sure. The standard ones that come in over the month that are pretty straightforward, I'll just gloss over them. I'll send you a formal report that will have them in there.
Okay.
The main ones that I wanted to go over for you were the situation at 285 Mountain Road. They have submitted a waiver request for the providing of stormwater. This is in association with a certificate of use that has been outstanding for quite some time now. I think we're coming to the end line one way or the other. We have submitted, in our capacity as the township engineer, our recommendation on that waiver request. Have you received that?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had a chance to review it yet?
No, they did not. I
Okay.
copied it for planning.
Okay. Our recommendation is
Brian,
that...
I'm sorry, can I ask this back up like 30 seconds? I
Oh.
apologize. I don't want to give you an answer with it.
Okay. The situation at 285 Mountain Road is associated with a certificate of use. That's why the zoning officer is associated with it. As part of that review, they had to have installed the stormwater management for the site per the approved plan, which they have not done. And rather than do that, they had submitted a waiver request to not have to do stormwater from the site. And they had their justification for it. But we have reviewed their request, and we recommend to the board that you not approve that waiver request. As far as rate goes, I think maybe, there are ways to make math look good, and they seem to have dealt with rate, but they have done nothing to control stormwater volume, which is in your ordinance, and I think their justification didn't meet. Bill has stepped in to kind of review this, and without some kind of control of some kind. Now, if they don't want to have to do what they have on the plan, that's fine. If they want to do something else, I'm fine, come up with a plan. But, one, they should submit a new plan, and two, they should do something about stormwater volume. So we have recommended that you not approve that waiver. I don't know when the action deadline is on that. My extension on their certificate of use as a temporary certificate of use is expired. So I've decided that once you make this decision, I'll let them know they have to come to a final decision, or we're at the point of the citation, which I'd rather avoid because they've worked with us on this, but it's gone on long enough. So, and the second one that is of great interest is for 95 Lee Drive. Currently, they have installed a temporary storage unit which has a limit of 2 months, subject to extension. They were granted an extension until, I think, middle of August. And in that time, they are to convert that storage unit into a more traditional shed. They were instructed to place a roof on it, to paint it, and to install a door. And because they're now submitting a permanent structure, they need a new zoning permit. So far, they are supposed to have submitted a zoning permit application. I don't think that has happened yet. I do believe they have painted the structure, and in speaking with the owner, he did seem to suggest that he has the materials for the roof. He was not originally going to install a door, and I told him that a shed probably needs a door. I think.
Probably need a door, or?
Yeah, you need a door.
Yeah.
So, I made it clear that those were some of the conditions that were necessary. Now, he did not have the full extension allowed by the ordinance. I wanted to limit the amount of time he has to make sure that he's following through on this. You know, if he does continue to follow through and he does need a little bit of extra time, there is some room in your ordinance for a further extension, if he is following through. If he's not following through, I do not intend to extend that and would, at that point, move towards legal action and citation.
Okay.
So, those were the two main ones.
Okay. Are the Browns here by chance? I did speak with them last Sunday. I met with them at their property, and I was not aware of this before. I had forgotten that you had provided them 2 letters requesting
Yeah.
status of certain items. And at that time, when I did meet with them, he indicated no intention to put a door on. Or I was clear about, you know, you're needing to put a door on, you're needing to put windows on the roof. And both of those, he had indicated, no, it's for secure storage, therefore we are not going to put any doors on it, we are not going to put any windows on it. That's what he told me. So, and I did invite them, you know, let them know they could come to this meeting and also get further comment. I don't know if, Dan, do you want to add anything or not at this time?
No, if you want to talk about it, we can talk in the executive session,
Yeah.
because there's likely to be litigation regarding it.
Yeah, okay. So I'll take that from Dan as, don't say it. But yeah, so hey, I did try to find out where they were coming from. I don't know as I know yet, so. All right. Was that it for your?
Yeah, those were the two main ones that I wanted to bring up. Like I said, there are standard ones that Daisy could probably fill you in. I come in, I review it, and it's pretty much cut and dry, and a zoning and engineering report will be coming shortly with those. I just, and all the other things that I was doing, I did forget to print one out for you tonight.
So right now, we need a motion to not approve the 285 Mountain Road waiver
It's going to
request.
planning, that's
We don't
why.
have to take action.
Okay, we don't, okay.
Yeah, it's going to planning for their recommendation.
Okay.
Actually, Skelly and Roy requested to go to planning. I didn't send them there. I said, really? How, I don't know how to do this. I never had somebody come in with a waiver request and no plan. So I asked the planning, and they said, well, they need a plan. I asked Brian, he said, I would think they need a plan. So I kind of nicely said, well, they're looking for an amended plan, and he said, no, this is just a request for no stormwater. I'm like, that's really odd. I said, oh, so, I mean, my email said, odd request, what do I do? And they said, just let him come in, so.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. Okay,
So they're on the agenda for July 13th.
okay.
Planning agenda.
Did you, I'm sorry, did you?
No, you're
have a
good.
question? All right. So,
You probably said, oh, joy.
Pretty much.
All right, moving on to sewage enforcement report. Brindle lot on Mountain Road, Speck, New Valley. Small flow treatment, inspections and reports, CMC construction for 110 Scenic Drive. 2771 Valley Road, 601 Pine Hill Road, 1310 New Valley, and then the last ones are for 1769 New Valley, and for a total of $2,910. Put this up here if anyone would like to take a report?
Some of that's only good.
Oh, so let you do it, right?
You go ahead.
You have it, Dawn?
Good. There's one in here somewhere, but this helps. 12 items on this one. You've been busy, boy. The mowing along the township roads, I think, is done, correct?
No, not quite yet.
Quite.
We're still working on that.
And you've installed drain pipes along New Valley?
Yep, they're done.
4 of them? That's, prior to the repaving. Bow and trim here at the township, it looks good, by the way. Clean the pipe and ditch on Lone Oak. Remove rock dam at Idle Road culvert. You get any feedback on that when you did it?
No, I didn't get any. I don't think you're aware of that, Jim, what's going on there. People keep building the dam out there, Idle Road culvert. Kids get in there and build the dam up. Well, the beavers get in there, then it causes this backflow. So it's going through our auxiliary pipe, our 42-inch auxiliary pipe, okay, which it ain't supposed to go through there until it floods, okay? Well, me and Johnny went out, cleaned it out, caused uproar with 2 citizens, okay? So, I, he called the game commission on me, and the game commission said I'm perfectly legal for when I'm going to clean that out, so. About 2 or 3 weeks later, they started another dam again, so I cleaned it out, me and Johnny when they cleaned that one out.
Had the kids started the dam? or
Yep, the
beavers
kids,
started?
no, the
Okay.
kids started it with rocks, so I told Daisy that maybe we ought to, and this is up to you guys, we ought to send them a notification that this continues, and if it does anything to our roadway, you know, that they're held responsible for the
Yeah.
clean up and for fixing the road, so I don't know what you
Keep
think.
hitting Dan, but that's a question for,
Yeah.
what can we do, what
You
would
get
you
the-
advise?
Yeah, you get the information that Daisy will.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we can't keep going out there cleaning it out.
That's pretty silly to have to do that.
Right. Go ahead, Bill, I'm sorry, I
No
just want to
problem.
elaborate on that.
No problem.
Because Jim wasn't aware of that.
The rock dam at Iowa Road that you had to remove?
Yep.
Another one?
Well, no, you're right, clean up the cinders there. I had Marysville come in and clean the cinders up.
Thanks for doing that.
Yep,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Kenny did a great job, I called him, told him he did a good job.
Okay.
We're gonna do what for that?
And we're gonna mow for them now, as soon as I get my mowing caught up, we're gonna go down there and mow for them.
Yeah, good deal, thanks very much.
Yep.
All right, and, you've been busy cutting trees.
Yep,
We've had a bit of a rush on the wind.
Yep.
It's been doing a job for us. Trouble is, it doesn't pick them up and move them.
right.
Chipped a lot of brush. Had a sign come down, had to go reinstall a school bus sign on 850. Had to repair one of the mowers,
Yeah, the boom mower fell apart.
tractor,
Broke the
came
piece
apart.
off of it.
Really?
So we had to get a piece and weld it on.
Those of you that run on, New Valley Road and a couple of others in the township know that we've had repaving done. Very smooth, very nice job. I'm pleased with it. I hope everybody else is. It's the first time that Hobecker's done anything for us, and they did a very nice job.
Very nice job.
And, the fellows helped move some playground equipment and mulch around that they put on the, playground and back. And let's see, that's 12 items. So you've been busy enough.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions?
The Lono cleanout, how did that go successfully? The pipe.
Fall for Ron Brown?
Yeah,
I thought it was.
okay.
So he sent me another letter. So I have the letter out there, I want you to look at it. I'll give it to you after the meeting.
you can look at it. I got a,
They did stop, I saw it was dug out, the
Right.
pipe ender was exposed.
and I explained to them that we can't get in there because I have a letter stating that there's telecommunication lines in there, okay?
Okay.
So I thought I had that all worked out with him. He said, clean the pipe out, I'll be good. After I cleaned the pipe out, now he tells me I have to dig the ditch down deeper, put rock line the ditch, okay? And I tried to explain to him I can't do that because I don't know if there's a telecommunication line, and he said there is not any. So, I kinda thought that this is up to Dan though, but if he wants that cleaned out, if he wants to sign off on it, that he's gonna pay the legalities of it if we hit the line, then we'll go in the cleaner.
Wasn't one call?
Well, I one called that, and they sent me a paper right away from CenturyLink and said, do not go in there because there's a telecommunication line there. So then he says there is not one in there, okay?
I would rely.
That's what I think the paper said.
He called one call
Yeah, I
and
told him.
questioned it, and whoever he talked to said, oh, some girl, I
Right.
guess, over in the office, and she said, oh, no, there aren't any, there isn't any there.
Did you
But-
talk to her?
No, I didn't, he
Yeah,
did,
he did.
and
Then
then,
tell that girl
I had
to
the
send
letter.
a new report.
right,
Can't they mark it in the field?
they didn't do any more.
So-
They didn't mark anything over there. They just sent me that
Probably
letter
contact
that
them
do
and
not
mark
go
'em.
in there because
Yeah.
there's telecommunication lines in there.
They should probably require them or make them mark them though, so that you know for sure, because they're required to.
It makes sense, that's what I said, why aren't they required to do that if there's that kind of water?
Yeah. I'll
And
let
if
you
it's
look
in
at
a,
that.
if it's in a work area, they're supposed to send somebody out to the site the day of your work to, like, supervise that you're not gonna hit anything, like that's legal.
And where we did dig, wouldn't that be where the communication cable would be? And-
Well, we only went right
Yeah.
by the pipe.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't go any deeper or anything. I just got the pipe cleaned up.
yeah,
So there shouldn't be anything right there.
as far as the,
Because they put that culvert in there, so we should be pretty safe there. But going down through, to put the rock line ditch and stuff in, I'm gonna have to go pretty deep.
where's it, down past between this property, of course, that is?
Yep, yep. Yep. It's not going away. So I'll let you look at that then. You can decide if you want to. And let Dan look at it.
And then cutting the overhanging trees, I think we were up there cutting trees hanging out over the road, looks like we just cut somebody about.
Yeah, your neighbor up there, he did his, and he brought all the brush down. He said, I wish I didn't know you guys were coming up through, I would've cut 'em." I said, thanks. But there is one there on Mountain Dale we should take a look at. I went back there and cleaned that up the other day. Remember that big cherry tree back there by,
Kenny knows.
Kenny said.
Was it the whole collection of the
It's
devils
a
along
big
there?
cherry tree on Mountain Dale. Remember that big one by, what's her name?
Donna Kennedy.
Donna Kennedy. Well, it broke that whole Y off of that thing. They came down within that pine, the other parts is, I mean, it's huge. It's going to go across.
Yeah, that's one that I wanted to take down a couple of years ago.
What
That
happened?
thing's bad. We should look at that, seriously.
Go this week.
Yeah, we should look at that.
It's gonna last.
Yep.
All right, thanks for that.
Yep.
Oh, sorry to get off the tangent,
That's all
anything else on road?
No.
Okay,
John's already.
all right, rec board report?
Yes, we had a Strawberry Festival back on June the 6th. We had about 53 people attending. We would have had more, but the youth group was away doing community service. And I do want to thank all three of you supervisors for coming out. It shows that you're interested in your community. So thank you. Our next event is July 18th, is Sundays in the Park. And that is 6:30 to 7:30, and plenty of ice cream and toppings and fixings, so come on out, it's free. That's about it for now.
All right, thanks, Bob. Jim, do you have a emergency?
Yes, this week Daisy and I set up, a trial version of the Dial My Calls emergency notification system. we were successfully able to send out, a number of emails and, text messages. I don't know who all, if you all got those, but I think we sent them to all supervisors. It wasn't, all that difficult, to get it set up. It seems to be a relatively user-friendly process to get, data in to, be able to make notifications to township residents. We were basically leveraging a free trial period, which we pretty much used. So the next really question for the board is do we feel like it will be, beneficial to have this notification system available for notifications, typically for emergencies, but it can be used for any communication to township residents that you'd like to do. The challenge is, right now Daisy has an email group. How many emails do you have, Daisy?
Actually, I picked up quite a bit since the newsletter. I have almost 145 now. We were up to about 130, so I've had about 12 more people signed up because of the newsletter.
Right, so we have that means of communication with township residents. I think that, probably a texting capability would be, more appropriate for emergency notifications. The issue with that is that we will need to, most likely in the newsletter, have an article, explain why we need it, why, the township residents would want to be able to get emergency messages, and ask them to respond with their, information in order to be able to be sent texts on their, cell phones. I think that would be the most effective way to communicate. Whether or not we'll be able to get good participation, is really a question. The cost for the system is about, $600 per year, which includes a good number, up to 365 broadcasts to every number in the plan, every number that we have set up. So it's a reasonable price, and perhaps worthwhile, since it's set up, it looks reasonably easy to use. I think, $700 for a year's subscription to the system makes sense, and then it would be incumbent upon us, Daisy, to mobilize, people to send us their cell numbers.
Are you in sales, Jim? I thought I heard you say 600.
Yeah, it's more like seven.
I have
was
to-
thinking
That's
that-
okay.
that's because
I didn't know if I
it's a little-
misheard.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It actually is based on how many we get signed up.
Oh,
There are different
okay.
packages
Six or
too.
seven.
I don't know if I have all the details, but what
There's
does it
a
say?
flat rate for,
For so many.
Yeah, I had him resend me his quote, so I have a correct
Okay.
quote. But that's, you can work with it, I suppose.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so the real question is, do we think that we'll be able to get reasonable participation? Because it's gonna require people to send us their cell phones numbers. I suspect we'll get pretty good participation, maybe up to what we have now as far as email addresses. And with a little bit of a, kind of a consistent information campaign through the newsletter, encourage people, hey, if you wanna know, if there's something happening in the township that is of a nature that is a potential threat to township residents, if you send us confidentially your cell phone number, we will send you text messages, to notify you. So that's where it stands. You can also, do phone calls with the system, although these days it seems like it makes more sense to put the focus on text messages than phone calls, because, a lot of people, and we can do phone call, we can do both. But it seems that fewer and fewer people have, residential telephones. And I think text tends to get a little more, notice.
So, where do we go next with this?
Well, we could sign up for a year. The pricing I have, and we can confirm this and talk about whether or not there are different packages. But the pricing I have is $593 for a year's subscription, which includes up to 365 broadcasts to every number in your plan during that one-year term. And
I was just gonna say, I'll make the motion that we.
Well, do we wanna wait to sign up till we get the, American Rescue Plan money? Because it might be covered. I mean, you can,
Well, that's-
you can approve it, but it's supposed to be coming, we're supposed to be June, now it's July.
Retroactive
We're
isn't
supposed to
you
get it at
guys-
the end of July.
You guys should be aware, the last major storm we had out here, that's when Tower Road was closed, people couldn't get out. We had no cell phone service.
Oh. That doesn't help.
That was an issue. So if you're gonna rely on cell phones,
That's true.
apparently, these
That is
towers
all
over here
three,
were
right?
taken
that
out.
is the state of our society.
Yeah.
So agreed, that is an issue, but again, fewer people have,
Landline.
Oh, yeah,
landline phones.
yeah.
But you can
everybody
sign both
uses cell
up,
phones.
correct?
Yeah,
You can sign both
In
up.
fact, if you have a landline phone that plugs into to the unit, you can actually get phone
Yes.
calls even when the power's out.
Yes,
And that's
Yeah.
perhaps something that we could,
that's the best,
in that communication in the newsletter to the public, that could be mentioned again. I think
We have mentioned
we
that,
said
I
that
know
once,
we've
did
mentioned that
once
before, but it's been a while.
Right.
He's saying if you have a landline phone, because we have one, that's why we keep it. Even if the lights are out, you can use your phone.
It's powered by the telephone.
well, and the issue we
It's
had,
plugged right into it.
do you remember when that was, Daisy, when, we had a hell of a storm and it was, the electric was out for
Yeah.
5 or 6 days?
Yes,
There was no cell phone
that was that
service.
tornado or something that came through.
you guys got hit hard up there.
If it would get really bad, the National Guard's gonna come in, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you do?
You said we have 140, 150 some folks. Brian and Dan, because they come out to our township, are they also on it, just so that they're aware? Something
No,
happens, they're
they're
not
not.
coming to,
They're not on it.
probably add them for, just,
I can add them
so
if you
they're
want to
aware,
add
so,
it.
yeah.
It's gonna eat up your calls. And you get 393 calls.
Make sure you guys are,
So if you
you're
get,
taking care of it.
if you get 100 people signed up, that's 3 calls per person per year, right? What's that mean?
It says, 365 broadcasts, and I'm not,
So it's one a day.
so that should be
I
one
think
per
you
that's
need
a
more
message.
details
Yeah.
on what-
We'll tell you after I kick you off.
You can call me.
And there may be other suppliers, alternatives, that we know of a couple, but, the rep for this company has consistently kept in touch with me for a year. So at least before we sign up, they're pretty consistently available and interested. So I think that's a good sign. So I would recommend that we do a year's trial, and work with it to see if we can successfully generate the database that we would need to reach township residents.
Make that motion, then if we approve that expenditure and get that underway, if you want second, Brad second, all in favor? Thanks, Jim. Thanks for doing all that labor.
Sure.
Yeah.
What he did tell me also, because I spoke with him, and he said, when our website is updated, which, by the way, I got an update from Scott, who was on vacation last week. I tried to talk to him then, but he just sent it to me this morning and said that they are on the final leg of upgrading the platform, and they're going to be starting after the 4th to actually start migrating websites. He wasn't sure where we were in that, but they're actually gonna start the migration. They haven't even started anyone's migration yet. They've done upgrades to platforms to the various websites. Ours has been upgraded. Before we couldn't get smartphones, we can now. I mean, it's been upgraded to that for quite some time. But they've been doing upgrades as we go, and ours was so antiquated. And so were others, it wasn't just ours. But anyway, he's expecting ours to be in the latter end of July. And he,
Is that the start or that's the completion?
no, that's the start of the migration, the end of, and I don't know if we'll be out for a while. I said, please give me advance notice, you know, I'm not sure how long it'll take. But, he said that, the guy from Chris said that they can put like a little widget on our website. And I'm not sure ours would handle it now, but they can do that, and then people can sign in there, and sign on. If you want to do that, then John Michaels has all our information, and I have a feeling they don't give it to us, because that's their hold on us. I don't know.
That all sounds great if during a storm, you have
I know.
internet service.
I know, that's true.
In that storm, we had no internet service.
I know, we didn't.
Ken has a generator, we'll be able to.
It kicks on, I suppose.
Yeah, it should be gone for you. That is true. There may be instances where it won't work, but
There are other types of emergencies that don't involve storms and down lines.
Not what electric is.
this
I worked
electric
for
guy.
PPL for 40 years. I'll tell you how much I trust them now. I bought a wood stove and a generator.
That's why I have a generator.
The people that run PPL now are buffoons.
Okay. Daisy, are you ready with the financial
I
treasury
think
report?
so. No,
Oh.
I don't know, oh, yes. I did get the full motion, okay, I'm okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got off. Okay, the general fund began with a balance May 1st of $391,015.32. Our receipts were $64,462.59. Expenditures of $29,367.52, interest of $32.69, leaving us a balance June 1st in the general checking account of $426,143.08. The general savings account had only interest activity, and the balance June 1st was $2,007.81. Liquid fuels checking didn't even get any interest and had a balance June 1st of $508.71. Liquid fuel savings had interest activity and had a balance June 1st of $2,658.82. I did not get the bill yet from Harbeck. I'm just now getting some of their paperwork back for the payroll, that they're in compliance with the, you know, the...
Did he call you, Jim from the firm?
Yeah, he did. He sent me this, I got the slips
Yep,
today,
yep,
so I'm
okay.
getting all the documentation, but I don't have an invoice yet, so. So those, you will see some activity in those. I think that's all I wanted to say, except just to let you know that, the American Rescue Funds, was supposed to be no application, and it turned out to be a big, rather bulky application that they wanted done within 5 days, not 5 business days, but 5 days. So I was here late one night trying to get through it, because the application had a page where you had to upload 7 other reports just in the one report. It was not simple, and everybody on PSAT's chat forum were complaining. The one girl was in tears, she just couldn't get it done, but it is done, and we are approved. They needed a W-9 from me, he said, oh, that's the easy thing, I'll just gladly do that. So we are approved and ready to go. They did give us a final determination on our monies. It's slightly over, it was in the newsletter, $249,000. They had initially told us $235,000. So now we're up to $249,000, almost $250,000. And half of it is to come mid to the end of July, and the other half should be coming, the 50% of that will be coming next June, is what I understand. The reporting is supposed to be rather extensive also. Our first report is due in October already. I'm not even sure we're going to expend any. Maybe we will by then. We will not have final determinations on what is eligible until probably the latter end of July, because there's a comment period that they've opened up, and the deadline to provide comments is July 16th. So, all the CSAS, all the municipalities, whomever, the state, whoever wants to provide, details about any questions or comments. And I know PSAS has provided some comments. So we'll see what the final determination as far as eligible uses of the money are. PSAS is still advising, like was said in the newsletter, take it slow. You'd rather do it right than fast. And we have enough time to use the money. I mean, there's some things you know. I know that they've talked about an air purification system here for the township. And I know also, and I think I told Jim, but maybe I didn't, but Dan Bostic offered to design something for us. He told me that verbally, that he would design a system for us. So, but that's something we can look into once we get the funds. But anyway, that's where we're at with that money. So we're just kind of waiting, and it just seems to be whenever the federal government's involved, it's complex. But we're getting there.
Federal permits.
And on the
I know.
permits, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Mhm.
Thanks for going over.
You're welcome.
Moving on to resolutions, 21-16, transfer of $175,000 from Easy Access General Checking CD at Pennian, which is currently at 0.35%, to Pennian Bank checking account at 4%.
Yep, it gives us 88 more dollars. But what I didn't want to do is put it into another CD that might give us 0.55, but would also, it would not be liquid. And they did tell me that there's been talk that they think the CDs may, depending on what the feds do with the next CD, they may start climbing slightly. So I don't want to lock into any kind of long term. So the actual amount was $175,933.36 with the CD, and there's no penalties with this easy access. So that's what that resolution authorized.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-16. Do we have a second? Brad, second. All in favor?
And the second one is just documenting an account that I already set up, knowing the details that they're probably going to ask for these planned funding. You're going to want a separate account for that. I have already set up in the accounting for a separate interest account, because even the interest must be used for eligible items, permitted, allowable items. So I'm trying to keep everything separate. And this is just documenting that you guys are aware I've set up a separate account, and it's just titled ARP Funds, American Rescue Plan Funds. And that's all this is, establishing that account.
Motion to approve resolution 21-17. John? Approve? Moving on to new business, building keys. Daisy, what's,
That was Brad's thought.
I think it would be a good idea to maybe to get the keys rekeyed.
they've been around for
A long time.
A long time.
A long
Not to
time.
change the law, but
Yeah.
just to get it rekeyed.
Yeah, we can get it rekeyed.
the front door, side door, gate.
Yeah, the gate. Get your guys' feelings on it.
Yep, no, that's a good idea. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, usually, I tried to get hold of Charlie's last weekend, their phone was, speaking of getting trouble with phones, it was busy. Like busy, and then I didn't get a chance to call them back. But they're the ones that installed these, and we've changed them before, because they do some master locks, they do some that are just front door keys, so, or they'll give like the, part-time temporary, snow plow drivers a side door key just to get in there. So, they know our building, they're the ones that installed the lock. So that's what we're trying to get hold of, I have no idea. It's gonna be several $100, so I'm sure.
Thanks for bringing that up, Brad. So you making that motion?
I make it that you do.
You want a second? All right, all in favor, aye? Announcements, the office is gonna be closed Monday, July 5th for Memorial Day.
Memorial
Oh,
Day.
yeah, sorry.
You're going
Independence
backwards.
Independence Day, sorry, thank you. No change in trash collection. And then July 18th, as Bob indicated, Sundays in the park from 6:30, starting at 6:30 till 7:30, rain or shine. It's always a nice event, and very much appreciated that folks do that. Moving on to approval and payment of the bills.
The general fund checks 17007 to 17006 in the amount of $212,575.60. There were no checks void, and if you do note on there, you'll see the $160,000 that was taken out. So it's not that we had $212,575 in expenses, and we're just moving from one asset to another. And then we have payroll check 7909 to 7914 in the amount of $4,067.02. Payroll check 7915 to 7919 in the amount of $4,151.18. Payroll check 7920, 7924 in the amount of $3,945.62. And then there's payroll checks. And also, I forgot to mention, all of the first quarter tax distribution monies were distributed to the fire, the ambulance, the library. So that also makes our bills a little more, because Becky had brought in the second quarter, more of the real estate money, the tax money. So then there's larger checks. You'll see, about 22,000, over 23,000 going to the fire companies and the ambulance. So that's some of the larger increase. It's their money, and we hold it and pay it quarterly.
6,300 to Tiger Trash, that was for the cleanup?
That's for the cleanup, yeah. That wasn't too bad, was it? They did a great job.
They did a good job,
Much appreciated. Okay, make a motion to approve payment of the bills. Do we have a second? John Stahl, second. Brad? Aye.
Jim, can I ask a question about what is the Blue Mountain Processors? It's 1,500.
That's
Wonder.
mulch.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the playground.
All right, thank you.
Actually, it's $100 cheaper than what they
Yeah, I
quoted.
thought they said 6.
It was.
Gene Reaver was
It was.
7 to us.
No, that's what the quote was, and when it came, that's what delivered price, so, yeah, $100 less.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, is there any citizen participation at this time?
I have some.
Sure.
So on Thursday, there was a special meeting of the auditors. That notice was published in the paper that was delivered to everyone's mailbox on Thursday, the same day of the meeting. So most residents wouldn't have known that the meeting was taking place until the same day, and there's supposed to be a 24-hour notice. Now, I understand that when you publish things in the paper here, it's published across 3 papers, one of which is the New Sun, that's available to people on Tuesday, but it doesn't service our area. That paper is distributed in Liverpool, Newport, and Millerstown, and the closest place to purchase it is Mudsey's. So for meeting notices, I don't think it's really appropriate to have the meeting the same day the notice is in people's mailboxes. If that meeting was held on a Friday, it would have been a non-issue. But having it on Thursday, when, everybody gets their paper Thursday afternoon or in the evening, nobody's reading it during the day. It's just by chance, like I happen to run down the mailbox and see it. So, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people are looking at us right now because of this past election, and doing things like that it doesn't look good.
Well, that meeting was for the auditors to discuss and clarify how, since we now have a
Right.
employee who's also a supervisor, was to clarify
I know.
when. So, nothing underhanded, intended in.
But it's a public
notification.
meeting, and it's supposed to have a 24-hour notice. It's like any other meeting. You know, it's supposed to be a 24-hour notice. And while technically it published in a regional paper more than 24 hours, the paper that everybody subscribes to in this township is the Duncan Record, and it didn't publish in that paper until Thursday.
Okay, I appreciate you bringing it up, we'll take it under advisement and see what we can do to, I get the point about you want additional heads up, not just you, right?
No, I mean,
That makes sense. So,
thank you.
Was there any comment to that page as far as why it got delayed or, no? Yeah, okay.
That's just when the auditors can meet, and as quickly as I could get it, and
Okay, was that good, Dan?
I mean, I don't know if it's a violation of the Sunshine Act or not. Like, I think it's a gray area, but gray areas are bad, you know? There's a pretty clear rule that residents should be noticed 24 hours before a special meeting, and we should adhere to that, that's all.
Can some discuss or some mention be put on the minutes of what a plan is gonna be to rectify that, because I agree with her, that's not acceptable.
Dan, I talked to Dan about it.
What did Dan say? I think Dan said we need to have 24 hours advance notice for a special meeting.
What's the
But you said it-
required means to get the word out there? What do we?
A newspaper of general circulation in the community.
In that paper that it was
A
circulated.
newspaper of
in
general
the
circulation
community.
is one which is a paid subscription. It's not a freebie, that doesn't
Yeah,
count.
I did say that.
And in this day and age, where we talk about things being antiquated, the laws on newspaper advertising.
Yeah.
Because more and more papers are going away from the daily paper, and a couple of times a week, even the Patriot News is only
That's true.
3 days a week.
So-
So it's,
And that
so you
brings
need
up
to
my-
plan
Can we
it.
put it on the
That brings up
website?
my other point, it wasn't published on the website either, and had it been published on the website, it would've been like, okay, they need to get this done. But there was nothing on the website, there was nothing on public notices.
So going
Or
forward,
the
if we
email.
put it on a website, that's copacetic.
No,
No,
that does
not by the law, but.
Not yet.
That does not satisfy legal advertising requirements. You can certainly do that to get the word out, but you still must do it in the
We're
newspaper.
still trying to do something.
If you do it right, if you get it on in advance, put it on the website 3 weeks in advance, and if you don't advertise it in the newspaper, you have not advertised it legally.
Does that include an electronic version of the newspaper?
No,
And it doesn't matter, because they don't have one, like, it's a shared classified,
but it
but
doesn't count.
they don't
Like,
have that
Published
available.
on Penn Live on a Wednesday doesn't count.
And what happens when there are no more newspapers?
Hopefully our Congress
The
people will
legislature
change the law.
is diligently working on this.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
PSAS is working
Well,
on
in
it.
my area, we don't even get our mail. I mean, most of the
Yeah,
time, we
that's
get our
true.
mail 2 days later.
That's true.
I mean, so if we'd have got the newspaper, we wouldn't have known about it anyway.
That's true.
Because it's so screwed up with the mail system.
Yeah, shit.
But the,
Okay.
no, the legal requirements are the newspaper, but certainly, posting on the township website
Okay, so,
is another way to get the word out, but it doesn't count as legal advertising.
and I don't know if we moved the schedule and made it what it was because we had this meeting tonight coming, and we wanted to have an answer for folks, because again,
And there were no
people have
decisions
schedules also,
made at
so-
that meeting.
I'm sorry.
There were no decisions made at that meeting by the Board of Auditors.
The one last week.
The one last week that's in
Last week, there was
question.
no decisions made, so. It shouldn't be a problem.
Well, it's
It's
still a
still a-
technical violation.
Yeah.
Because there was a public meeting held without 24 hours notice.
So we,
Well, there was not a decision made to change anything, so the decision was to stay.
Well, there's no
stay
decision.
put, Yeah.
Nothing.
Okay.
They had their meeting today.
But there was discussion, and technically that should have been advertised 24 hours in advance.
So which newspapers qualify for this area?
I don't know. I guess the Patriot News is delivered in this area,
Duncan Record.
Duncan and Record. I don't know what else is in this community. I'm not familiar with it.
You could get this Sentinel, I mean, I don't think that's a usual thing, but you could really subscribe to any.
Does the Patriot come out in?
No, the
Sunday, yeah,
Patriot
so I
does
didn't
not.
know
Tuesday,
if
Thursday, Sunday.
Yeah,
this
okay.
area, this anyway.
Yeah.
Well, what does the township subscribe to? Does building subscribe to
Not
something?
everybody gets paper, newspaper,
Yeah.
and not everyone is going to be notified.
It's but it's just those that are generally circulated in the community. We
Yeah.
like the Gettysburg Times, that would work.
No.
Okay, so there's two things, legal requirement and the spirit of keeping
Right.
people informed. And that's where I could care less about, I should say, don't care about the newspaper because we kind of all acknowledge that we don't really.
Right, I mean,
So how
I
do you
just,
get the word out?
like, I subscribe to the newspaper for the sole reason that the township notices are published in it. Like, you know, I can get all the other news from online if I wanted to, but, you know, the classified sections, it's not online, so.
Go ahead.
Sorry, John,
Why don't we, I mean, granted, it's not legal, but something that would help that we already have access to is just email. I mean, at least that's a bunch of people in the township. Because I didn't know anything about it either. I don't do newspaper. It's probably not the cell phone, like the cell phone thing we might get, you know, get a text, that would be, if it didn't cost us any more, I mean, that would be something too, that, but here, doesn't matter, you know, it's not legal, but just trying to get it out to people. I know email, we can always do that right now.
Okay, I don't know where to take it beyond that other than
Okay.
we will do
My-
our best to adhere to the.
And I'm sorry, I caught something that somebody said. Did you say that they had that meeting today?
Yep,
Was it an official meeting?
yep,
Was it published?
yes, Sunday paper.
You didn't see that then?
And what Sunday paper?
Patriot News. The only
So
way
what
you can get
determines
it in.
which paper you publish it in? Because that's now two papers.
I've gone to both, and so does Marysville Borough.
Selectively, or they each published in both?
It depends how I need to get it in. If I need it before Thursday, if I need it before, you know,
So
then
it's
I go to the
inconsistent,
Patriot
is
News.
what you're
I
saying.
don't, I'm gonna be honest, I don't like to go to Patriot News. They are double the price. So,
So we went to them.
anyway.
So again, this is like an issue because all the township newses are published in the Zone Cannon Record, except when it's not convenient to do that.
Well, it's not a matter of convenience, it's timing.
It is a
Right,
matter of
timing,
convenience.
it's timing.
I think we
No,
need
it's not
to
But
gonna
now I
stay
have to
with
subscribe
No, I
to
don't
two
think the horse is
newspapers
dead
and
yet.
scour them every week in the
Don't you?
classified sections because none of this was posted on the website. And I check the website every day. Every day. And you know, I know it doesn't legally have to be posted on the website, but not posting that meeting on the website is shady as and you know it. Like, it really makes me mad that you would do that.
That was
No.
highly inappropriate, do not ever
No.
bring that mouth to this.
You know it's inappropriate.
That was inappropriate.
Okay,
That-
I apologize for swearing,
That-
but you
that-
know
Let's
it's
terminate
wrong.
the conversation, that's it.
Yeah.
Done.
If we beat it,
End of subject.
Let's just move on.
Thank you.
Let's just move on.
Are we talking about what the decision was?
Any other business? Motion